When nature shows its true colors, the soul shivers, and something similar happened with Flight 571. This plane crashed on a snowy place, feet above the ground, and the passengers who survived in this crash had only one option to save themselves: their own family members, and eating the flesh of friends. The story of Flight 571, whether you call it the biggest miracle of the world or the most cruelty in human history, but your soul will shivers after listening to this story. This heart-wrenching story begins on October 12, 1972. A chartered plane takes off from the country of Uruguay in South America, which has to reach Santiago, the capital of Chile. Rugby players are sitting in this plane, and their family members, their relatives and their friends are going to watch their match. There are a total of 45 passengers in this plane, including 9 crew members. This flight will reach its destination in 3 hours. But on the way, it will have to cross mountain ranges. But unfortunately, the weather turns bad later on. Due to this flight is landed in a city of Argentina on the way. This flight stays there overnight and is ready to take off the next day, i.e. on October 13th. But the problem is that the weather is still bad, but the good thing is that the pilot of this flight has flown 29 times on this route before. Due to this, he has a complete idea of how to cross these keys. Due to the confidence of the pilot, this flight takes off again on October 13th at 2:18 p.m. There is 1 hour left to reach Santiago from here, and the pilot is completely confident that after 1 hour, they will reach Santiago safely. This plane was at an altitude of about 18 feet and was slowly crossing the keys. But later the weather worsened, due to which the visibility became even less and the pilot was not able to see anything ahead. If there was weather, the pilot would have got an idea of where the plane is by looking at the surroundings, but at this time the pilot is dependent only on the instruments of the plane. Now, since the pilot knew that he would reach Santiago in an hour, he kept estimating his location roughly, and after an hour, when he felt that he had crossed the ND key, he asked ATC for permission to land the plane at Santiago Airport. ATC asked if he had crossed the ND key. The pilot said yes, he had crossed the ND key. ATC was also dependent on the location given by the pilot, so ATC gave permission to land the plane and told the pilot to bring the plane to an altitude of 11,500 feet by 3 o'clock. At 21 minutes, the pilot started reducing the altitude of the plane slowly. As soon as the plane comes down, the pilot sees that the ND is still moving and there is a huge rock in front. Quickly, the pilot tries to lift the plane up again. But now it was too late. While lifting the plane up, the rear part of the plane hits the rock and it breaks apart. Due to the rear part of the plane, the rear seats along with the passengers go into the air and 3 passengers die in the air. In this collision, the right wing of the plane was also broken, due to which the plane becomes unbalanced. Due to which its other wing also collides with the plane and it also breaks. Now only the front part of the plane was left, which hits the glacier at a speed of 350 kilometers per hour. The plane is completely destroyed. The pilot of the plane is killed instantly. 12 out of 45 people have died in this incident, and 33 people are still alive. But most of them are in a very injured condition, and they do not even know where they are at this time. This crashed plane is scattered on some unknown place of Andes at a height of 3,570 meters from the ground. No one knows whether they will be able to escape from this or not. What happened till now was just a small trailer. The real story of this flight will start now. You cannot even imagine what is going to happen to them in the future. This deserted place is now going to wreak havoc on them. Knowing their further story will send chills down your spine. One of the injured passengers was Nando Pardu, who had a head injury due to which he went into a coma. The problem was that the sun was about to set, and it was about to be evening. Because of this, the rescue team had no option but to take them home. There was not much time to search, and by chance, if they were not rescued before it got dark, it would be impossible to spend the night on this snowy place because the temperature here reaches minus 30 degrees Celsius at night. Soon 4 planes were dispatched for rescue. These 4 planes searched the place, but they did not find anything anywhere because the plane had crashed at a place where there was snow and dense fog, and the plane was also of the same color. Due to this, the rescue team was not able to guess the crash site when seen from above. It became night in no time, and the rescue operation was postponed for the whole night. The surviving passengers were hoping that they would somehow spend the night. Tomorrow someone would save them, and they made a shelter in the crashed plane and spent the night. This night was very terrible for them because they have to spend the night in -30°C. But they have a hope that tomorrow someone will find them and save them. In this hope, they somehow spend this night. But 5 people are not able to survive this night, and now the number of survivors reduces from 33 to 28. The next morning on October 14th, the search operation is resumed and 11 planes are sent to find them. But the problem was that the crashed plane was not visible in the snow due to its color. The rescue team planes were flying over the survivors, but they were not able to see them coming down. Due to this, the survivors tried to write SOS with lipstick on the plane to signal the rescue team. But they realized that they did not have enough lipstick to write SOS. Due to this, they made a small cross on the snow with their suitcases so that it could be visible to the rescue team from the sky. That day 3 planes flew over them, but no one noticed them, and this day also passed. The next day, i.e. October 15th, the situation remains the same, but the rescue team is unable to find them. Now these survivors had understood that they are in a very bad situation. It cannot be said when help will arrive. Because of this, they started making survival techniques with the things present in the plane. They were arranging water drop by melting snow in the sun, but for food, they had no other option. 3 days after the crash, i.e. on October 16th, Nando Parado wakes up from coma, and as soon as he regains consciousness, he comes to know that his mother has died in this crash and his 19-year-old sister is seriously injured. Days are passing by. Help is not being received. The food that was in the plane has also been destroyed. The sunlight is reflecting from the snow and damaging their eyes. Bearing hunger, thirst, and unbearable cold, they had spent 8 days on this. Rescue planes would come and pass over them. 8 days after crash, Nando Parado's sister also loses the battle for life and gives up her life, and on the other hand, the search operation is stopped after 8 days. Because there is a lot of snow in the month of October, the search operation is postponed for 2 months. The officials thought that all the passengers would have died in these 8 days. Therefore, their dead bodies will be searched and sent to their families after 2 months. Here the survivors found a radio in the debris of the plane. When the survivors switched on the radio, their own news was being broadcast that the search operation of Flight 571 has now been stopped. This news gave the survivors a boost. Till now they had a hope of being found, but now they were hearing the news of their own death on the radio. There was a ray of hope of being found. That too has been shattered. Now they know that death is certain here. Now either let the circumstances dominate you or face them bravely. They tried to save themselves from the cold by stuffing the cotton of the plane seats inside them and made shoes to walk in the snow by wrapping the seat covers around their feet. The biggest problem was of food. Now, to stay alive, he had only one option: to do something that no one has ever done in history, and just thinking about it makes one's soul tremble. He decided to eat the dead bodies of his family members, relatives, and friends with whom he had played in the snow. However, taking this decision was not at all easy for him. Days passed one by one. They had no plan to save themselves. They used to sleep inside the broken plane at night to save themselves from the cold, but 16 days after the crash, i.e. on October 29th, nature gave them another shock. They were sleeping at night, and suddenly they came to know that a thick piece of ice was breaking and falling down. It came so fast that the huge amount of ice engulfed their broken plane. Their plane was buried under the ice, and ice had also entered inside the plane, due to which there was a lack of oxygen for them, and 8 more people died due to suffocation, and now only 19 people are left alive, but they are also buried under the ice. It takes 3 days for these people to get out of this ice. Now they realize that if they stay here, everyone will die one by one. It is better to get out of this and try to find help. Most of those people were in injured condition, due to which they were not able to cross it. But there were 3 people who were less injured, so they decided to go out and bring help. They took meat with them for the journey and were given the thickest blankets to protect them from the cold, and 33 days after the crash, i.e. on November 15th, these three people set out to find help. It started getting dark as they walked. Then they came upon another broken part of the plane. They saw the rear part of the plane which had broken apart. When they went near that debris, they found a lot of food in it. They decided to spend the night here. This night was good for them in the last few days. They found a battery in that rear part of the plane. They thought, why not take this battery to the main body of the plane and call for help by switching on the communication device installed in it. But the battery weighed 25 kilograms. It was not possible to take such a heavy battery to the crash site in such a weak condition. Then they thought of removing the communication device from the main body of the plane and bringing it near the battery and activating it so that they can forget about the rescue team. They tried to activate it for a few days, but they did not succeed, and 69 days after the crash, i.e. on December 11th, another avalanche occurs in which 3 more survivors are killed, after which the number of survivors remains only 16. And now these 3 youngsters, Camisa, Pardue and Wigston, set out to cross the glacier without any gear. These 3 keep walking towards the west, but they do not know at all whether they will find any human settlement in the direction in which they are going or not. They were just thinking that they have to cross this road in front of them and they will get help, and they were hopeful that they will cross it in 3 days. That is why they kept a supply of meat with them for only 3 days. They had made a sleeping bag by stitching it with threads, so they used to sleep without any gear the whole day, and at night all 3 of them used to sleep in a single sleeping bag, in the open without any facilities. Spending the night in -30°C was not an easy task. They were already walking till the morning of the 4th day. But the good thing was that they had now reached the peak of the mountain. As soon as they reached the peak, the ground slipped under their feet because they came to know that the direction in which they were walking for so many days was the wrong direction. The road ahead never ended. Now, because they had very little food supply, they decided that one of them will go back to the crash site and the other 2 will go ahead. Due to this, Vicentin goes back and Pardue and Camisa stay ahead. After reaching the peak, they get an idea of the right path, and both of them kept on climbing for many days. They stay ahead, and after a few days they find a small stream of the river. They keep walking down along with that stream, and after walking continuously for 9 days, on December 20th they see 3 people on the other side of the river. They were very tired of walking. In the last 9 days they had hiked 61 kilometers, and now their destination was in front of them. They requested them for help, but those people left saying tomorrow. They did not get any help that day. But the very next day that villager came back and wrapped a paper and pen in a stone. Nando Pardue threw the pen and paper on the other side of the river. He picked up the paper and wrote down everything that had happened. When the villager read the paper, he understood everything because he knew that a few days ago a plane crash had taken place and people had come to that area for interrogation too. But he was surprised how these people were still alive. The villager went to the city as soon as possible and shared this information with the army command. And soon the Chilean Air Force arrives to rescue them. The army officers put Parrot and Kaisa in a helicopter and reached the crash site, and on December 22nd, 1972, 70 days after the crash, the survivors were rescued. The condition of these people was very bad. After this crash, only 16 people survived. This story of theirs was really heart-wrenching, but even more dangerous is the survival story of a person who was stuck in the deep sea for 400 days. A small boat in the middle of the Pacific Ocean was his home. The open sky under which he had to endure the hot afternoon sun and the cold of the night. A single person kept wandering alone in the deserted sea for 400 days, i.e. 14 months, hoping for help. The story of this person's survival will really surprise you. You can see this story in this video shown on the screen. I will meet you there.